In 2005, Matt Carpenter completed the Leadville 100 in 15 hours, 42 minutes, and 59 seconds, smashing the previous record by over 90 minutes. Carpenter is a legendary trail runner, and many people thought that his record was unbreakable. The course record had stood for 19 years, but David Roche thought it was possible.
The Leadville 100 course record is the final historic course record that is really on the map in trail running. I think the course record is going down, if not this year, in the next 5 years.
This is David Roche. He's a coach, podcast host, runner, and the nicest person I have ever met. Whether he's training, racing, podcasting, or coaching, David always leads with love and is constantly uplifting others.
Great job.
Upon first meeting him, you might not think that David is a fierce competitor, but you would be wrong. He's one of the best athletes in the world, and this year he made it his goal to break the unattainable record at the Leadville 100. Four months before the race, David was in a near-death bike accident when a car hit him and he flew 100 feet through the air before hitting a fence. Luckily, he was fine, but he had a severe concussion and other injuries that forced him to take some time off of training. At times, he contemplated if he would ever get back to the fitness he had had before.
Dada's going for a run! Woohoo! You look great. I love you. That's beast.
But with love from Leo and Megan, he continued training and working towards that goal of a record at Leadville 100.
Gradually coming back bit by bit.
For some reason, leading up to this race, and I think it's a lot just the accident, and in April, really contemplating my own mortality. I was like, you get one life to live. And I'm going to say my big scary dream in such a unvarnished way. You are not your results, no matter what. You are something so much deeper than that. And I knew that coming into this race, and it let me run unburdened.
David went into this race like he had nothing to lose, and he tackled Leadville 100 with full belief in himself and belief in the idea that entering the pain cave by his own volition was the truest way to live this life that he had.
This guy's insane, right? He's clocking 6:15. There he is! Good looking!
David was running like he had nothing to lose, but he wasn't running dumb. With the help of his wife and coach, Dr. Megan Roche, he came up with a scientifically based plan for both training and racing strategy that would enable him to take down Matt Carpenter's record. Matt Carpenter had one of the highest VO2 maxes ever recorded at over 90 milliliters per kilogram. David knew he couldn't beat him through athleticism alone, so him and Megan used the latest running and exercise physiology research to dictate his training plan and give him the edge. The main idea was that David would need to push harder than Carpenter. In order to do this, he would need to improve his speed and running economy, maximize his efficiency in Zone 2, and push the limits of high carbohydrate fueling.
We haven't walked yet. We're not going to start now.
David knew that in order to break the record, he would need to run every step of this race, even the steepest climbs. Instead of fixating on high volume and time on feet the way many ultramarathon training plans do, David and Megan focused on speed through strides and track workouts, and strength through uphill treadmill and resistance training, with the idea that if his top end was higher, every pace below that would feel easier.
I came from a faster twitch background, so for me, optimizing at the top end of the spectrum was incredibly important, because my only advantage against Matt Carpenter, I'm not going to be better at fatigue resistance. I'm not going to be better at climbing than Matt Carpenter. He's the best that's ever done it. Where I could be better is that if we lined up and it became a 5K, I could beat anybody who's ever showed up at Leadville.
So David planned to run in Zone 2 and Low Zone 3 for the entirety of this race, but to maintain that kind of an effort over 100 miles, he would have to fuel like no one's ever done before. Throughout the race, David took in 120 to 140 grams of carbs per hour, which equates to 500 to 600 calories for every hour he ran. He did this entirely through a combination of gels and sport drink, using a technique coined as slurping, which means squirting the gel past the palate so you can avoid flavor fatigue. His ability to take in this amount of carbs and keep them down was hugely advantageous, especially at a race like Leadville that starts at over 10,000 feet and gets up to over 12,000. GI distress can be a hugely limiting factor, but David was able to run this ultra at a higher intensity than most people do because of his ability to continually replenish the carbs that he was burning.
I practiced so hard with the GI stuff, training like a competitive eater when it comes to overloading my stomach with fluid during a run. And over time, that feeling of bloating is something I've never felt again. But as a result, my GI system, even though it became a little bit of a limiter at the end, wasn't.
But even with an incredibly dialed training and fueling approach, running 100 miles at a record pace will always be difficult. As he entered the last 20 miles of this race and took on the last big climb, David felt himself descending further and further into the pain cave. But he didn't panic or let self-doubt creep in. Instead, he embraced the pain cave as a place of uncertainty and vulnerability that he had created for himself.
What I realized for myself is that the pain cave is not pain in the traditional sense. It's not a car accident. The pain cave is being stripped down to your core, having all of the artifice of like humanity taken away from you so that you are just truly experiencing a moment. So what my goal was is I just want to have that artifice ripped away. That I wanted to see what happened when all of the layers and layers and layers on top of my skin was torn out. How did I respond in that moment? It felt at times like it might have been a tough day, but the whole time I was like, I'm actually not here for the result. I'm here because I think the pain cave can be a beautiful, transcendent experience. For me, it's just about, let's see what happens when I'm stripped down to my core. Let's see who I really am.
Yippee!
Making this video, I know that he would want to turn the credit to everyone else, but I'm making it, so I'm going to make it about him. This record and this moment are his, not only because he trains incredibly hard, but because he's a tough and resilient person who managed to turn a near-death experience into a transcendent race performance, all while uplifting the running community and spreading love and acceptance at every opportunity. So thank you, David, for showing us that love wins. Love for the pain cave, love for ourselves, love for slurping, love for science, and most of all, love for each other.